One, and we're live. What is up, everybody? Welcome back. Austin Practal Performance, coming at you live. And today we are joined on the podcast, the Fit Parent Project podcast, with my client, Brianna, the badass Baxter. I had to open with that. I had to open with that because that's like it's just such a good nickname. It just fits so well.
I like it. I'm gonna keep that long term.
Yeah. We need to get you like a special like Practal hoodie with like the badass on the back.
The nickname on the back. Yeah, I like that. I like that idea.
Yeah, okay.
Let's do it.
might have to put that in motion. So
yeah,
cool guys. Yeah. So for today's episode, meeting up with my client, Brianna. She's just like I said, like, you know, I like her nickname. She has that nickname for a reason. It's not just a given because she is a badass and she has been on a health and fitness journey for a pretty decent amount of time now. Like we've been working together for maybe like a year and a half now, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, it's been about 15 or 16 months now. So almost a year and a half. Yeah,
that's freaking crazy. That is that like blows my mind to think about. Like, and I don't know why it blows my mind because like I mean, there's a couple of people that I'm working with that it's been, you know, going almost on like a couple, like with you like almost like a couple of years, and it's just like damn, like it's been a minute since things have gotten rolling and everything, which is which I love. I mean, I just love that we like all get to get to know each other like that on like, you know, kind of like a more long-term basis, which is awesome. And we already got people, for those of you that are listening to this on the podcast, like we're doing this also live. And so I might mention some comments from the live during the middle of this, but we've got Nicole says hi. Jen says alliteration fits. BBB. Let's go. Like that. The badass Baxter. Let's go. And so guys, today we're gonna talk about a little bit about like Brianna's journey and just kind of like, because she's actually been on a live with me before in the past, but that was we were talking before we hit record that was a while ago, and like, you know, a lot has changed since then, and a lot has like you've like really like kind of during the last one we were talking about how you were like starting to get into that momentum and starting to like really step into your power, and then like now, and it's just been like it's just been pretty damn consistent in terms of you being in that power and in that like new normal for yourself. So I figured we would just talk about her journey a little bit, and maybe just for lack of a better term, shoot the shit a little bit and just kind of talk about things and how things have been going for her and her journey and like mindset and all that good stuff. So feel free to introduce yourself, by the way. I talk too much, so go for it.
No, it's fine. I'm Brianna, and I live in Northwest Arkansas, like right on the border of Arkansas and Missouri. And I have been married for 12 years to my husband, and we have 2 kids. They are 10 and 6. And like Austin said, I've been working with Austin for about a year, almost a year and a half. And that's a little bit about me. I'm a stay-at-home mom / I did just start doing some substitute teaching in my kids' school district, but mainly a stay-at-home parent. We have a dog and a rabbit. That's about that's a little about me.
Yeah, I like it. What just out of my own curiosity, what are the dog and rabbit's names?
So the dog, he's sitting right next to me. He's a golden retriever. His name is Bear.
Nice.
And then our rabbit's name is Snowball. He's an outdoor rabbit, but yes. So those are our animals. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. And so for you, like in terms of, you know, being like we can kind of jump into it a little bit here, but like, you know, as far as like being, you know, the parent side of things and like the stay-at-home parent side of things, like I remember whenever I was like doing stay-at-home parenting for a while, and like granted, you know, it was whenever my kid was like really, really, really young. So it was like, I feel like every stage of parenting or every stage of your kids, like every age they get to, it's just like, well, it's kind of new anyway. So it's just, it feels like it's pretty hard. So I don't know, like, but like for you, like, you know, being a stay-at-home parent and like balancing and managing like, you know, a health and fitness journey, like how has that been for you? Like, do you feel like Like it
Uh,
adds like an element to like an element of difficulty
yeah.
having kids.
So I feel like when I started working with Austin, shortly before I started working with Austin, we had just made a cross country move. So we actually moved from
I
Washington
know you
to
left us.
Arkansas.
I'm just kidding.
It was a really big move. There was lots of emotions around that move, both positive and negative. But we made this big move. My kids both started school full time, which that was the first time they'd both been in school full time. And at that point, I kind of hit a wall when we made the cross country move. And I just recognized that since becoming a mom, probably even since a little before becoming a mom, but before becoming a mom, I had been putting everyone else's needs before my own. And I was really good at doing that. And I think that you can be really great at doing that, but that can also have some negative side effects to it. And so I kind of hit this wall as a stay-at-home mom where I needed a change. My health was not doing well. I have PCOS. I've had PCOS for about 6 or 7 years now. And so I established care with new doctors. We did a lot of lab work. And some of my labs were just they were not great. They were not pointing towards anything great. And so not only was my weight at the highest it had ever been, but also just my mindset, my health, everything was kind of at an all-time low. And so I think for me at that point, I needed to make the decision as a parent that I needed to start putting myself and my needs first, because I want my kids to look back and I want them to appreciate that I put others' needs before my own, but I also want them to appreciate that, oh, mom also took care of her needs too.
Absolutely.
And so I will say, since making that jump with this program and with Austin, that I have gotten into a really good groove with being a stay-at-home parent and meeting my needs, because I made that shift. I made that mindset shift that from now on, these are going to be my needs and this is what I'm going to get done. And I'm always going to be there for my kids and be there for my husband and be there for my friends and family, but I also need to be there for myself. And so when I made that mindset shift, then I have been able to find a really good groove. And it is helpful to have my kids in school. It is helpful to have my kids in school, but sometimes kids are home, whether they're sick or whether they're on break from school or this and that. So just maintaining a really consistent routine for me has been helpful. But yeah, there were some really rough days when my kids were both at home with me full time. There were a lot of rough days. And like I said, it's become a little easier as they've gotten older and gotten more into school full time. But I think it's just what's helped me is just maintaining a consistent routine for me.
I mean,
and
absolutely. I think one big thing like that you mentioned, like, I think just like so many parents, like oftentimes like they see parenthood through the lens of like martyrdom almost. It's like I have to sacrifice everything that is like me in order to take care of my kids or whatever. But then they like, in doing so, like because they're in that mentality, they like lose themselves in some cases. Like they kind of like they're like, oh, I'm just mom or I'm just dad, and like that's the only thing I am anymore to like the world or to like whatever. And it's like, no, it's like, you're still like, and you can get caught up in it too. And then, like, sometimes it sneaks up on us and we're just like in that role for so long that it's like, it's not even intentional. And it's like, and we're like, 6 months, a year, 2, 3, 4 years down the line, we're like, well, who the fuck am I? Like, what do I like, or how did things get to this point? Or like, how did like, my self-care get so, put on the bottom of the, list over time. And I think a lot of parents struggle with that because they're, all they see online is just like, spend as much time with your kids as possible and be as selfless as possible and never take time for yourself and all this other stuff. And it's like, but in doing so, like, you're like never filling your cup up on your own. You're just constantly like empty all the time. And like,
well, and it also kind of reminds me of the kind of along that same thought process, but it also reminds me of when people make comments like, well, you're going to miss this. One day you're going to look back and you're going to miss this, when you're a parent and you're having a hard time with something and people say, you're going to miss this. Just cherish this moment. There are many moments when my kids were little that I do not wish to have again.
Same.
And I will be happy I'll be happy if they never happen again. I don't think you have to. I think sometimes that can create a lot of pressure on parents too, when people are telling them you have to cherish every single moment throughout all your kids' entire life. I mean, there are moments now that happen with my kids, and I'm like, I hope this does not happen again, and I will not miss this. And I know that for a fact. I know that for a fact. I'm not going to miss this. Obviously, there's moments that you are going to miss as your kids get older, but I also just think it's completely unrealistic.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
To say cherish every moment. You're gonna miss this. Don't complain. Don't reach out for help. That kind of goes along with it. So it's interesting.
See, that's real parent. Like, that's real parent life right there. That's not that like echo chamber bubble world that people live in online, or that they just like try to promote like unrealistic standards for like parenthood. And it's like, and those are the people that are going to crash and burn out the most, honestly, like more than likely, or they're probably like the unhappiest because they literally never take care of themselves or put their needs first, like, which in turn ends up, being, it's one of those things that like, it's hard to, it's when they're in it, or like they're like, they got the blinders on so much that they can't even like see it. But it's like, you're like letting like your cup be so empty, or like you're not like taking care of the foundation that like keeps you afloat. And then eventually like your like cracks and cracks and cracks are just gonna start to form, and then they're like building is gonna collapse. And then it's like no wonder you burnt out, or you had like a mental breakdown, or you got to like a place where you're just like literally so miserable and like unhappy. And it's just like, so you weren't taking care of you too. Like you got to put your need, like, self-care is not selfish, like even in the slightest. It's one of the, I literally did an episode of the podcast a couple weeks back. It was like, self-care is like literally one of the least, like, it's one of the most selfless things you can do, because you're like taking care of you and putting yourself in a position to be like the best version of you as a parent, that's like, emotionally and physically and mentally, like, whose needs are like met to some degree. And then you're setting that example for your kids too. It's like you're like teaching your kids how they should view taking care of themselves and their own self-care and things like that, by setting that example and being like, look, like, I can be a good parent, and I can be like, I can also be healthy and fit and like be an example.
And
go ahead.
Oh no, I was just to say, I think a lot about my mom in these instances, because my mom had 5 kids. I'm the oldest of 5. And growing up, she's been super active as long as I can remember. She was a runner. Then when running kind of phased out, she taught aerobic classes and yoga, and was always really active with us growing up. And there were moments growing up where I remember thinking, oh God, we got to go to the gym, daycare again. Or, oh my gosh, why is she, doing her workout class at this time? I want to be doing this. But as I got older, and then now that I'm in this journey with my kids, and my mom is still active, she still teaches her classes, and she still gets out and moves every day. And now that I'm older and I talk to her now, I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
I get why you why you prioritize this above everything else. And she says, yeah, because that was my outlet. That was time for me. And regardless of, you know, how many kids I had and how you guys were doing that day, we had to get up and go do the things, because that was how I helped me stay sane. And I understand that and appreciate that now. And so I hope that my kids, like I said, can look back and appreciate that mom took time for her too, because I think it can benefit everyone, you and your kids. It can benefit for the future. So.
I could not agree more. I feel like it's one of those, like, for me, I mean, whenever I was a stay-at-home dad, like, my only like with like a, you know, crying, screaming baby, and also like I tore my pec and all this other stuff during that time, so I was like one armed, like just like okay, like what I am not a very, like, naturally, I'm not like very like caretaker-esque, like that's just not like my mind is just not like wired for that. And so it was like on top of all those things, it was just so hard. And like we were in an area where we didn't know anybody, we didn't have any friends around really, like, and so it was just like the gym for me was that outlet. It was like the time that I had to like kind of like remember who I was before I was like stay-at-home dad. And it's just like and I feel like kind of like what you said, like a lot of people are like, oh, you're gonna miss all these moments. So it's like some of them, but there's definitely some where I'm like, you're fucking lying to yourself if you if your brain is playing tricks on you to like make you feel like,
you do not have to miss every moment. Trust me.
There are times like where Jessica and I are like when we'll be out like grocery shopping or something like that with our kid, and he, you know, he's like 4 going on, he'll be 5 in a couple of months or whatever. It's like I feel like we're kind of like what you said, like your kids getting into school, both of them now. It's like for me, I'm like oh, like I feel like we're like on the cusp of that. I feel like it's just more and more independent. Like he's gonna go to kindergarten next year or this year, I guess technically, and it's like oh, like we're like almost out of the woods. I feel like, oh, like it's getting easier. And so for the parents out there who are new parents, like obviously the first year is like really fucking hard, and it can be really hard, but like, and really stressful, and like you're just figuring out your groove, and also like so much is changing with your kid on like almost a daily, if not, you know, weekly, if not daily basis, that it's just like, you know, as soon as you like get adapted to that phase, it's like a new phase is happening. And so like give yourself extra grace if you're a parent. Doesn't mean, you know, to settle and to not try and to not, you know, but like, you know, and not to say that it isn't possible, but it does get easier. Like it definitely does get easier as they get more you know, self-sufficient, I feel like. And like, you know, like my
you will sleep again. I know it doesn't seem like it. I know. Trust me. I know. I had 2 kids that did not know what sleep was for a very long time, but I promise there will be a time where you will sleep, and then you'll wake up in the morning and you'll be like, oh my God, did I just sleep all through the night with 0 interruptions? This is amazing. It will happen. I promise. It might take a long time, but you will get there.
I remember sleep was like, because like I turn into such a grumpy asshole if I don't get enough sleep. Like I'm just like I just my like the number of spoons that I have like on a daily basis, if I don't get enough sleep, it's just like I don't have any, they're just gone. And so like when we had Finn, he was like, whenever I was working graveyard for a period of time when he was a baby, and it was just like, and I was working like during the day, and then like he would be up and at home at during the day, and I would be trying to sleep, and it was just like this is not working. Like it was so hard.
No, my husband also worked nights for a couple of years when we lived in Washington, and that was definitely some of the most challenging years for him and for us, just as a family unit, because both the kids were still at home pretty much full time. I think my daughter might have been in preschool a couple mornings a week, but for the most part, the kids were at home, and he's trying to sleep, and I'm trying to keep, and we didn't live in a big house. You know, we didn't have a lot of space to where he could kind of have his own space. So it was like trying to keep your kids quiet in this small. It was very challenging. Again, those are those are days that I don't miss.
Same.
I
It's
don't
hard
miss.
because everybody's on different schedules and there's like friction
Yeah.
and all this other stuff
Mhm.
there. That's just like,
Yeah.
that's how it was
It is
growing.
tough.
Like when I was growing up, like my dad still works swing shifts. Like he'll work so many
Yeah.
days on like during the day and then like so many days in like the whatever that weird middle ground shift is. And then like
Yeah.
and nights and like all growing up, it was just like we would be awake, we'd be playing, and like we would like have to like be really like we would wake my dad up and like fuck his whole
Yeah. Yeah.
schedule up, and obviously that just was not
Mhm.
fun and just like the
Yeah. It's not.
not a good time or environment or anything like that. But
No. No.
it worked out.
Not at all.
But yeah, so aside from so for parenting wise, so let's share with everybody, like so far, like obviously if you're listening to this and you're watching this, like you can see in the title of this podcast episode is that like you're down 44 pounds since
I
we started
am.
here. Like
Yeah.
that's freaking crazy. Like
It is.
that is like that's a huge difference. I mean, that's like a whole ass
Yes.
toddler. Like
Yes.
that's a whole ass like my 4-year-old, he's like 47, 50 pounds right now. Like that's a whole
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
crazy. So for
Mhm.
you, like, reaching these goals and hitting these progress like milestones and things like that, now being like 44 pounds down and like,
Mhm.
like body recomp wise, like a lot of like building lean muscle and things like that, like your strength, like what, like for you has been like the biggest change that you've noticed in your life, like, so far from, accomplishing these things.
I would say, uh, it was when I started, it was really important to me that I had a number goal.
Mhm.
Obviously, I think a lot of people when they're joining for fat loss or weight loss purposes, have a
Mhm.
number. They're like,
Yep.
I would like to lose this many pounds, or I would like to get down to this weight. Um, but I I didn't realize I had other goals, but I didn't realize until I started that, yeah, the body recomp has been crazy. There have been, I mean, because I have PCOS, not
Yep.
using that as an excuse
Yeah.
or a crutch, but just how it is, it's
Mhm.
probably going to take me a little longer
Yep.
than it would someone else.
Yep.
Just because not everything's totally lined up with my
Yep.
hormones the way it should be.
Yep.
So that plays a big part. But yeah, so there have been weeks where my number won't necessarily shift
Yep.
on the scale, but
Yep.
I notice my clothes fitting differently. I
Yep.
have so many clothes that don't fit me anymore, or just are
How
fitting me differently, or that were
Yeah.
snug on me even last fall. I'm putting them on now. They feel good.
Yeah.
I feel like just the way that my body is shifting and changing, in a good way. It's just making me feel good about
Yeah.
the way my clothes are fitting.
Yeah.
I definitely have more energy and stamina than I did even a
Yeah.
year ago, to do things with my kids, or
Yeah.
even just to do things like go for walks
Yeah.
or go for a hike, or
Mm.
just the ability to have more energy and more stamina and
Yeah.
not feel like I'm lugging around a
Mm.
lot of extra
Yeah.
weight on my own body, has been really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that's in the biggest. The number has been great, but also just the way that um my body is looking
Yeah.
aesthetically and feeling is
Yeah.
just feels good to me. And I think after you have kids, like, my body is never going to look the way that it did 10 to 12 years ago before I had kids. When you
Yeah.
have kids, your body changes, and there's certain
Yeah.
parts of your body that are just, they're never going to be the same.
Yeah.
But I like the way that it's looking
Yeah.
now and the way that I'm feeling now. And
Yeah.
so it just makes me look forward
Mm.
to what the next year
Yeah.
will bring. So,
Yeah.
and that makes me happy that I'm looking forward to it, that I'm not
Yeah.
dreading the next year, that I'm
Yeah.
just looking forward
How
to what the
cool is
next
that?
year will
Like, how
bring.
cool is
So,
that? That's such a like.
yeah.
There's a lot, because a lot. I mean, and I think that's just one of those things where it's like the sustainability factor is one part of that, and then there's another part of
Mhm.
like once you start seeing progress and you start seeing success, and it's like oh man, like look at all that I've done in the last like year and a half. Like,
Yeah.
oh man, imagine like, and your mind starts running a little bit like, oh, what could this
Yeah.
next year bring? What could come next? And it's just like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's so cool to see like for you. And I feel like the changes that have been happening, and like for you, I feel like kind of around the last time that we did a live together, before the podcast even existed, like
Mhm.
we did an interview where it was like we were kind of like we're about like I would say like maybe a month or two into where you
Yeah, I think
really
so.
hit a stride. Like you were just like really starting to pick up and getting momentum. It was just like I don't remember exactly what kind of spurred that on, or if there was like, or if we had like a tough love talk, or I don't know what it was or what happened, but like there was
Yeah.
like something like clicked or something shifted, like with you and with like how you were like I don't know like approaching things, or if it was like the nutrition side or the mindset shift or what it was, but like
Yeah.
something clicked and it was just like we were just off to the races. It was just
Yeah.
like
I feel like it was I feel like it was a mix kind of a mixture of everything, but I feel like I did once I got, a good like 6 to 8 weeks into the program and I started just getting more familiar with tracking my food and more familiar with these are the times that I do my workouts and these are
yeah,
the workouts and
mm,
I started to get into I'm very much like a um I like having things planned out.
yeah,
I'm a visual person. I like seeing things. So the fact that I was able to see everything, like I'm
mm,
tracking my food and I can see I have all my workouts laid out for me. I have
yeah,
this and I have that was really helpful. So I think once I shifted my mindset and once I realized that um this is something that I could see myself doing
mm,
for a long time
yeah,
because I have done all the other things. I mean,
yeah,
you name it. I've probably tried it in
yeah,
the past. And all of them were just things that I would start doing, but when I
mhm,
thought about like, can I see myself doing this for the next 4 or 5 months, 6 months? I'd be like, no, I can't even see
this is
myself doing this for
miserable.
the next 2 weeks,
Yeah,
Like, this
yeah,
sounds terrible.
yeah,
Um, so that I think that was a big, um it was a big mindset shift just
yeah,
to realize that, yeah, I can see myself I can do this. Like,
yeah,
I can do this, and I'm seeing progress, and I'm feeling good, and I'm still eating.
yeah,
I didn't have to give up food,
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah,
so it was all good. So I think I just hit a good mindset
yeah.
switch and just
You
went
cru
from there.
Yeah,
It was
you're
great.
free and you've been
Yeah.
crushing it, like, just
Yeah.
consistently. It's like I feel like every other week, it's just like boom, like, milestone, boom, body recomp, boom, non-scale victory, boom, like, it's just like,
Yeah.
we're in that stride, we're in that momentum,
Yes.
and I'm so freaking stoked for you too. It's so cool to just see, like, those, like, not even, like, light bulb moments, but just those moments where it's just like, "Oh, like, we're really building something here. Something we're getting into
Yeah,
that
yeah.
good momentum, and it's just like
Yes.
it's exciting to see. And even like and even kind of like what you said, like we were talking about like some weeks the scale may not move, and that's normal, right? And I mean, and
Mhm.
sometimes we'll have a check in, but then but we stay the course, and we don't
Mhm.
necessarily like get that we don't let that self sabotage us, or we don't let that get into our head too much. Because obviously, when you see it, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, like that kind of sucks. But like, hey,
Yeah.
whatever. But like, we know, like, we stay the course, and then like by the next check, and it's like, oh, well, shit, like we're down, even more than we normally are because we the
Yeah.
fluctuation is normal, and like the other thing too with that is like we recently did calorie drop. We recently did like a
We
calorie
did.
drop, and
Yeah.
so for you, like and lo and behold, like we just had like a really awesome breakthrough like during your last
We
check.
did.
Like it was a good time. But
Yes.
for you, like when lowering your calories and things like that, like how for you do you feel like giving yourself a little bit of like time to adjust to the lower calories, because at some point everybody's going to
Mhm.
have to drop their calories if during their
Yeah.
weight loss goals. And so for you, how what helped you kind of like adjust to that, or to like transition to that? Because I feel like that's something that people are scared of a lot of times, or they get
Yes.
nervous about.
I was
And even we talked about it a little bit. You're like, okay, I think I'm ready to do the calorie
I
drop
think
a
I'm
little bit
ready.
now.
Deep
Let's go
breath.
for it.
Deep
Yep.
breath. Yeah. No, I remember the first time. I remember when I started the program. Obviously, we started out at a certain amount, and then we did a little bit of a drop, but it wasn't super. I mean, it wasn't super significant. And that was kind of the amount that I stuck with for up until this last drop that we did. And this last drop that we did was obviously a little more than the first drop. And I definitely, I was nervous. I was like, I'm going to be hungry all the time. This is going to be awful. But I think the thing that helped me is just, I kind of just kept doing what I was doing with my new calories in mind, but focusing on protein with every meal, with my snacks, making sure I was consuming protein, lots of snacking on fruits and vegetables, more just kind of lower calorie option snacks. And just not, just really keeping your mind from shifting to a,
like scarcity.
I'm having to eliminate. You're not having to eliminate or deprive your body. That's the word I'm looking for. You're not, because I think it's sometimes easy for our mindset to start shifting, like, oh, now I have to not eat as much or something. But that's not. I just had to keep my mindset on the same path of like, nope, I'm gonna keep eating when I normally eat. I'm just gonna be slightly more mindful of the snacks or the amounts of protein that I'm putting into my meals and snacks. I mean, I think as long as you keep that mindset and you don't view it as a you're depriving yourself of food. You're just slightly shifting the things that you have to eat. Just like when I started, just like when you started this journey, you have to go from eating a certain way to realizing, holy crap, I'm not eating any protein at all. So you make that shift and you're adding in more protein. And then, and so I think as long as you view it as you're just shifting things. You're not depriving yourself of food. You're not depriving yourself of a food group. It's just, you're just shifting the things that you are consuming and maybe making a few different choices. And that's okay. But it doesn't mean that I'm skipping breakfast and lunch in order to cram all my, it doesn't mean any of that. It's just a matter of shifting things around a little bit. So that's probably helped me the most.
And finding that new kind of balance. And I think too, just like I think I told you when we did this calorie shift, because like, I mean, you were just consistently losing that calorie amount before this one for a while. We're just like, well, we're not, if it ain't broke, we're not, reason to mess with it. And so, but now that we have shifted, I think I remember telling you, I was like, it might take, some people it can take, some people adjust really easily. Some people can take a week or two to kind of for their hunger to kind of like adapt to it. And like, it's going to be a transition period of time, and just kind of view it as like, we're just going to work at it, progress, not perfection. And like, we'll have it dialed in, within a couple of weeks, and it'll be fine. And, that's where we're at now. And it's paying off big time. And I feel like, a lot of people just like because they're so used to like hearing like, oh, like, I have to drop my calories or I have to lower my calories. They instantly think starving myself, or instantly think like what it was like when they tried it the unsustainable way in the past. So they've got a lot of that like kind of in the back of their mind that kind of jumps out at them whenever that stuff happens. And you gotta remind yourself, like, this time is different. Like, this time is not like the other, like this is a different animal, it's a different game that we're playing this time. And it's not going to be as bad as it may have been in the past. And so, I love that. And so, for you, just kind of like a fun, I've got like, I want to respect your time. So I've got like two more questions that I want to talk about. So my first question is like, what's your favorite like part about your journey so far? Like, what's been your favorite, like whether it's something that you're doing on your journey, like workouts or nutrition or whatever, or if it's something that a benefit that you've seen in your day-to-day that you really like about your journey now, or even mindset or something like that?
I would say the best part for me has just been honestly like finding myself again. For a lot like I said, since becoming a mom, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I had kind of been stuck in this identity of
Mm-hmm.
I'm a mom
Yeah.
and I'm a wife, and that's it. I didn't really, people would ask me like,
Mm.
what are your hobbies? What are your
Yeah.
interests? What do you like doing? And I honestly couldn't really answer.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I stay at home with my kids, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
couldn't really give an answer. I mean, before I had kids, I loved working out. I loved exercising. I loved taking classes. I loved being active. It was something
Mm.
that I really enjoyed, and I think when when I had kids, I kind of lost that, and
Yeah.
now I'm kind of finding that again. Like
You've
I'm
rediscovered that
really
part of
enjoying.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying working out, and I'm really enjoying being outside with my family, and I'm
Mm.
really enjoying um having everyone come along on this journey
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah.
And just feeling like, yeah, just feeling like I'm finding myself again, that I'm not just identifying anymore as
Yeah.
Brianna the mom
Yeah.
and the partner, but also like Brianna the badass
Yeah.
who can do all these other incredible things that don't
Yeah.
have to do necessarily with motherhood or with
Exactly.
being a partner, but just things that I'm doing for me. So
Yeah.
that has been probably the most
Ooh.
rewarding thing.
That was a
Yeah.
good answer.
Yeah.
That was a damn good answer, man. He was that was off the cuff too, man. That was
That
good.
was. Yeah.
That's
That
good.
was.
That was great. Yeah, no, I feel like that speaks to so many moms out there and just so many parents out there that are that are where you were at before you started your journey. Like, and it's so cool too, because it's like when we like you choose, like you said, you're like feel like you're bringing your family along on this journey too to some degree. And it's like
Mhm.
when we decide to do this, like have this self-care for ourselves with our health and fitness and start to take care of our our health and fitness goals and work on these things for ourselves and put ourselves first more. It's like it's inspiring others to do the same, and it's giving others like permission to kind of like go that same path, because like, damn, like
Mhm.
somebody else that was like in a similar position to me that was going through a lot of the same stuff that I'm going through right now, like they're doing it and they made that decision, that like empowers them to like see themselves in that position too, to be able to go for it. And I feel like that's really
Yeah.
cool. And also family too,
Yeah.
like you taking
Yeah.
this on for yourself and doing these things for yourself, like it trickles out and it impacts your family, right? I mean, like
Yeah.
you interact with your family on a daily basis, like
Yeah.
as a healthier, physically, mentally, emotionally version of yourself, like on a daily basis, like that's gonna impact in the choices that you make and the examples that you're setting, like that impacts like our
Yeah.
kids, it impacts our partners, it impacts like the people that we care about the most that we interact with on a daily basis, because we're just like giving them that like next level or like elevated version of a happier version of ourselves too, that's just
Yeah. For
yeah,
sure.
I just think that
Yeah.
that's super powerful. And something that a lot of times people are like my journey doesn't matter, like I don't matter that much, or like people aren't paying attention or don't care or whatever. And it's like, how do you know? Like you don't know,
Yeah.
like, you don't know
Yeah.
that, like a lot of times people put
Yeah.
like limiting beliefs on themselves. And if they would just like give themselves like just see their worth and see their like the power that they do have, like
Yeah.
I feel like yeah, I just feel like it would be such a benefit to them to be able to do that. And I think what you're doing
Yeah.
right now on your own journey is helping people do that too, which I
Yeah.
think is
And
so.
I would also just say that you don't like I'm not super if you're friends with me on any kind of social media, I'm not a super social media savvy person, so you won't see me posting like tons of
Mhm.
Instagram stories
Yeah,
or Facebook. I don't even think I've ever done an Instagram story.
I don't think you
But
ever
I'm
will.
saying you don't have to feel like I have to put this out into the world
Yeah,
every day, all day in a really big way for people to notice or to see the changes that you're made, because I feel like even just interacting with people
yeah.
that I know in real life on
Mhm.
a semi-regular basis can make a difference. So,
Yeah,
don't feel like I have to put my journey out for the whole entire world to see every day. If you want to, that's great. But if you're like me and you kind of just rather not necessarily post about every single part of your journey, you can make a big difference even with just your normal everyday interactions. It doesn't have to be a big grand statement every time.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that for the introverted people out there too, especially.
Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. So for you, like, last question that I have before I let you go, what would you say to someone who's on the fence or who is like scared or nervous about starting their journey for the first time or trying again? Like what would you what would you have told like your like, you know, like earlier version of yourself or somebody new like that's you know, scared about joining or starting?
I would tell them just make the jump and do it.
Yeah.
Because they're like, when I first reached out to Austin, I was 1000% that person that was like, I think I'm going to wait until the new year. And if you follow Austin, you've seen some of his videos and podcasts about why wait until the new year. I was one of those people that was like, well, I think I'm just going to wait till after the holidays. I don't know. And Austin will 1000% support you with whatever you choose to do, but he will also maybe challenge your way of thinking about that. And he did. And I'm really glad that I decided to not wait until the new year, because before I knew it, the new year was around and I made it through the holidays and I was like, holy crap. I'm so glad I didn't. So I would say just do it. I mean, just make an effort and do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect every day. There's going to be days where you fall down and days where you're not going to do great, but just get up the next day and do better. Having a community has been really beneficial for me. Going on this journey on your own can definitely, like, I would not recommend doing any kind of health or fitness journey 1000% on your own. I'd say having a really supportive community, coach, whatever route you decide to take, just having a community behind you is really beneficial. And I have definitely struggled over the past year with progress over perfection. Like, it's something that I'm working on every day. Like, still, like, recognizing that there's going to be days where it's not going to look that great, but that's okay. I go to bed and I get up the next day and I do it again. And most of the time, as long as I keep that mindset going of like, I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm going to do better. When your mindset shifts to that, that's typically what happens is you get up the next day and you do better. So
about
just
that
do it. And don't worry about being perfect about doing it. And have a community behind you.
Take messy action. Take messy action and like just bet on yourself. Like, honestly, a lot of times people feel like what's they think about like, oh, like the worst case scenario. They're like, oh, like what's the worst thing that could happen? They go to that, and then like, but it's like, what's the best thing that could happen though?
What's the best thing?
And just like, you know, giving yourself like the opportunity to fall down and pick yourself back up and like I think a big part of like your mindset shift that I noticed was just like you like fell in love with the journey more. I feel like you got like you're like recognized like this is something like that. I'm just gonna like this is like something I could see myself doing like for the long term, and this is something that I could see myself like I think it's
and I think there's instances where it's helpful to look. It's helpful to look to the future, to your future self. But I think it's also, at least it's been even more valid for me to look at my past self and where I am now, and then B, just taking it day by day, not thinking about like, well, I wonder what's going to happen in 2 weeks, or I wonder what if this happens next month, or I don't know, but just focusing more on just get through your day to day. Just get through the day, because don't worry or stress too much about what next week or next month or next year is going to bring, and just look back at all the progress that you have made. If you have those days where you are down and you're thinking, gosh, I feel like I haven't made any progress at all, I guarantee that if you look back to where you were even just a month or two ago, you've made a lot of great progress. So don't be too hard on yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Give yourself grace, and just like,
Yes.
like looking back, like, you know, I think that's just like really good reason why progress photos, and like, and also keeping track of, like, you know, the scale isn't the end all be all, but like having that kind of in your back pocket to, like, it's one factor among many, but like being able to look back and be like, oh, like today I feel like crap, or like, oh man, I didn't lose any weight this week, or oh, like, you know, I feel you're down on yourself or whatever. It's like, but then you're like, you look back, you're like, and you just been beating yourself up all day or week or whatever. It's like, then you look back, you're like, fuck, I'm like down like 40 pounds. Like, I'm doing okay. I'm doing more than okay. I'm doing a damn good job. Like, when in doubt, zoom out, guys. Like, look back and appreciate how far you've come, and use that as like fuel to like, you know, recognize, like, and to build that confidence and that belief and that integrity with yourself. Like, I am doing the damn thing. I can make this, and I am going to make it. And I'm going, you know, just like, take it day by day, and just like not like, there's no point in worrying about what's coming in the next 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years. Cause like so much, it's literally unpredictable. You cannot like that's cool. Awesome. Sweet. Well, I think we're going to end it here. Brianna, I want to say thank you so damn much for coming on to the podcast. I appreciate you. You have really embraced and fully embodied like your well-deserved nickname, Brianna the Badass Baxter. So,
well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you guys, you know, like Brianna said, she doesn't post too much about her journey on social media. But if you want them, if you want to share your socials, you're more than welcome to, for them to follow you. But
yes, I can. I can do that.
Where can they find you on Instagram?
Let's see. Facebook, it should just be my name, Brianna Baxter. And Instagram is BMB90 is my Instagram username. And I have like 2 other social medias, but literally nothing is posted. I just have those social medias to watch other people's social medias. So Instagram and Facebook are probably your best. Probably your best.
Awesome. Cool. You guys heard it here. So go over there and give her a follow. Go send her send her the word badass. Just spam her the word badass over and over again, because that's So, cool.
I'll know where you came from. If you send me, I'll know that you came from Austin's podcast and know where weird or creepy. So
message me later, be like, I got so many badass messages, and now I can't find any messages that I actually care about. No, I'm just kidding. So anyway, all right, guys, we'll end it there. And on that note, appreciate y'all for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Bye.